Hey everybody, this is Ben, editor of Cinema Gulp, and for this Father's Day, I am doing a Chasers review of one of my dad's favorite comedies of all time, What About Bob? Happy Father's Day, Dad. One of the best dark comedies of all time, this mostly underappreciated film continues to grow its cult popularity with age. Because this film is not too keen on pop culture references, it ages well and does not date itself with too much music, fashion, or other things to show that. This film was one of the most misunderstood films of its time when it came out, with its uncanny ability to misdirect the audience's allegiance through character motivations and development. Bob Wiley, in one of Bill Murray's best performances, is an obsessively compulsive narcissist who just so happens to have a thing about invasively hijacking the lives of the therapists who treat him. He develops such an obsession that his mind feels it can properly heal itself without them constantly telling him it's going to be okay. Sounds like the setup for a thriller, right? It very well could have been one. Instead, we get a ballsy, ahead of its time, sometimes truly creepy, yet always pretty hilarious farce about the state of someone's mental health and how it's affected by those he chooses to spend his time with. The script is much more layered than it appears, for the synopsis is also referring to the therapist himself, played by the awesome Richard Dreyfuss, and his mental state as it changes through the course of the film.
The best psychiatrist in the world is the one right inside of you.
Oh, Daddy, not here!
Anna! Anna!
I know you won't listen to your father, but you always listen to me.
I can't hear you. Where are you, Anna? Woo!
For those of us in film fandom know that Frank Oz is the voice of Yoda, but in my opinion, he's directed some really great comedies, such as another underappreciated dark comedy, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. He's also directed one of my favorite movies of the early 2000s, The Score. He knows how to use misdirection to have our confidence shift from one scene to the next. He does this with What About Bob, where characters' actions versus their motivations and the way we don't get fed exposition is what keeps us from fully knowing who is doing what to whom and why. On the surface, Bob seems borderline psychotic to anyone facing him in a one-on-one therapy session. Yet he's manipulative enough to control certain situations and keep people enthralled with his antics. The way Dreyfuss's Dr. Marvin's family just falls in love with him could have also made for a very dark and scary thriller. The idea that a patient would fake suicide just to find out where his therapist lived in order to go confront him and his family is spine-tingling if you really think about it. Yet Murray plays Bob with such a naive and lovable quality that even if you're just the audience member and know how unhinged he is from things, you still wait to see it unfold. The awkwardness in this film is unfathomable and constantly keeps you shaking your head.
The book is not really meant to work that quickly. It only worked that quickly with Boo. Bob.
You can call me Boo.
I don't want to call you Boo.
Even if you do it as an accident, it's okay.
No, I really don't want to call him Boo, but the book isn't, meant to work.
Everything from the TV news interview to the inevitable committing of Bob to the psych ward makes everything seem so uncomfortable. Growing up, watching this movie with my dad and how hard he would laugh at it really gave me a good sense of comic timing. I always would judge a lot of comedies when I was younger based on how hard my dad would laugh. He has varying degrees of laughter, you see. Murray and Dreyfuss are so good in this movie, I'm surprised they never worked again together. They're both so convincing as actors that I can even imagine a scenario where their respective roles were reversed. Dreyfuss has the chops to pull off crazy. And we've seen Murray as a jerk straight man gone mad, so it's not too hard to imagine. The supporting cast is excellent, with Airplane's own Julie Haggerty as Faye, the loving and devoted wife of Dr. Marvin who falls under Bob's spell. It really is a joy watching something that keeps you wondering how everything will turn out for these characters, especially after you think it's just gone too far. The sharp writing, instinctual direction, and spot-on acting makes it work, and by the end, one could see Dr. Marvin's methods, or lack thereof, were somehow helping Bob. This is what makes a great dark comedy. That perhaps the rejection with the driving force for Bob's success, in which case he seems to be a vacuum, sucking the stability right out of Dr. Marvin's very existence. There are so many fucking quotable lines in this movie, it's ridiculous. My brother, my dad, and myself for nearly 30 years have been quoting this movie. Everything from, "Is this hand shucked?"
Is this hand shucked?
"Son of a bitchin' Bob!
Son of a bitchin' Bob!
Son of a bitchin' Bob!" I'm a sailor, I sail.
I sail. I'm a sailor. I sail.
And of course, Bob's ingenious schizophrenic poem.
Roses are red, violets are blue. I'm a schizophrenic, and so am I.
Watching this film as a kid, I remember asking myself, who would you rather be, Dr. Marvin or Bob? Does it make sense to say that Bob was right? Because it's really all about how we treat others in the process of bettering ourselves? Or was Dr. Marvin right for sticking to the bylaws of doctor-patient relationships? You could say Dr. Marvin went further since he technically tried to commit murder in the end, but he was also the one through the film getting the short end of everything, getting his house blown to bits. That's what's so great about this movie. It doesn't matter if anyone was right or wrong. When it's over, we know the outcome, and it's mind-bogglingly hilarious. And the character arcs of the two leads come full circle. I will always recommend this movie to people. It's one of the best dark comedies ever made, and the reason for that is because so many didn't know it was a dark comedy. Since my brother, my dad, and myself all can quote it, and sometimes would laugh and quote it together, especially around the holidays, around dinners, it's everything a movie should be. It's a bonding experience. Thank you so much for watching my Father's Day edition of a Chasers review. I'm Ben for Cinema Gulp.
Happy Father's Day, Dad. This one's for you.
Happy Father's Day, Dad. Love you and miss you.
A couple of lines and extra thermos Joe. He'll be kicking in heads at the punk rock show, yeah.